You want to sort of enjoy that night and not
Right.
talk about you right away. So I tried to pivot and said, I'm just thinking about drinking a lot of Budweiser tonight. I want to go kiss my wife and my kids. I want to go, hug my family. I'm going to drink a lot of Budweiser tonight, Tracy. I promise you that. Everybody thought, oh, he's...
Peyton is a freaking problem. You even saw Lawrence Taylor on the thumbnail, and that tells you everything. We are not talking about some ordinary quarterback here. We are talking about a man who walked onto the field and made Hall of Fame defenders feel like they were already losing. Before the snap, before the first play, before the game even started. Peyton Manning did not beat you with his legs. He did not beat you with a cannon arm. He beat you with his brain. He studied you. He learned you. He already knew what you were going to do before you did it. And the greatest defensive players who ever lived said it themselves: Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, Richard Sherman, Troy Polamalu, and Charles Woodson. These men were the best at what they did, and Peyton Manning made every single one of them change how they prepared, how they played, and how they thought about football. That is not a coincidence. That is a pattern. Quick thing, if you are enjoying this breakdown, hit the hype button and give this video some hype, because these stories get even crazier. 5 legends, 5 stories, 1 man who removed the unknown from the game. Number 5, Charles Woodson. Charles Woodson beat Peyton Manning for the Heisman Trophy back in 1997. They were rivals from the jump, but Woodson will be the first to tell you that beating Manning on a football field was a completely different story. Woodson watched Manning his entire career, studied him, tried to figure him out, and what he saw was someone built on one thing above everything else: repetition. Woodson said Manning had a healthy respect for repetition. He did things over and over until they were perfected. That was the hallmark of the great ones. By Sunday, Manning had already seen everything you did. A week before, 2 weeks before, a month before. He knew his opponent almost better than his opponent knew themselves. Think about that. You walk onto the field and the other guy already knows your tendencies better than you do. That is not football. That is surgery. Woodson was one of the greatest ball hawks in NFL history. Interceptions were his business, but it took him almost his entire career to finally record a pick against Manning. Why? Because Manning refused to throw into windows he had not already diagnosed as safe. He spent 10 hours a day in the film room. By Sunday, he was not guessing. He was confirming what he already knew. Number 4, Troy Polamalu. Troy Polamalu was one of the most instinctive players in the history of the sport. He played on feeling, on instinct, on pure football sense. Most quarterbacks could not handle that. Peyton Manning weaponized it. Polamalu said facing Manning was exhausting. Not just physically, mentally exhausting. Manning used the no-huddle offense to stop defenses from substituting players. He forced Polamalu and his teammates to show their formations early, before they were ready. Then he stood at the line of scrimmage and gestured, pointed, changed the play, changed it again. Polamalu called it a constant battle. Manning was scanning the defense, changing routes, checking at the line, every single play. And those eyes, they were a weapon. Manning would look one way to drag Polamalu out of his lane, then fire the ball somewhere else entirely. Polamalu once compared the peace of surfing to the stress of facing Manning on a football field. He said with surfing, there are no mind games versus Peyton Manning. Number 3, Richard Sherman. By 2013, Manning had already survived 4 neck surgeries. His arm was not what it used to be. Passes wobbled. They fluttered. Richard Sherman, one of the best corners in the league, noticed. He said Manning throws ducks, and he was not wrong. But here's what Sherman also said, and this is the part that matters. He delivers it on time and accurately. Sherman said he had seen Manning throw ducks that went for 50 yards and touchdowns. Manning does not need to throw a perfect ball to beat you. He just needs to know where you are going to be. Manning did not need velocity because he had already done the math. He knew where his receiver would be before the receiver even made his break. He released the ball early, he put it in the exact spot. And in 2013, throwing those wobbly ducks, Manning set the all-time NFL records. 55 touchdown passes, 5,477 passing yards. His team scored 37.9 points per game, the highest scoring offense in NFL history. Number 2, Ed Reed. Ed Reed was the one man who went to war with Manning's brain on equal terms. Reed was the only defender who consistently engaged Manning in third-order thinking, not just reacting to the play, playing Manning's own perception of the play. And Reed pulled off something no other defender had ever managed to do. He intentionally played a coverage wrong, on purpose, multiple times early in the season. He knew Manning was watching film around the clock, cataloging every detail, so Reed fed him bad data. He let Manning believe a certain coverage had a flaw in it. 10 weeks later, when the two teams met again, Manning went for it. He threw the deep ball, expecting to exploit what he thought was Reed's tendency. Number 1, Ray Lewis. Ray Lewis was the greatest linebacker to ever play this game. And he will be the first to tell you that Peyton Manning made him work harder than any opponent he ever faced. Lewis said it directly. Manning forced defenders to alter their game, to watch more film, to dig deeper than they had ever gone before. Lewis started looking at wide receiver feet at the line of scrimmage. Right leg up or left leg up, the depth of an outside receiver. Tiny, microscopic details that might give him a clue about what was coming. Why? Because Manning was already counting the entire defense. He identified the number of defenders in the box, checked the depth of the safeties, clocked the middle linebacker alignment, all processed in seconds. Then he came to the line, pointed out blitzers, and called out the defense out loud, and Lewis would hear all of it and redirect his entire defense in real time, both sides adjusting at the exact same moment. Lewis said if you give Manning what he wants, he beats you. If you disguise it and give him something he does not want, maybe you have a chance. Maybe. Lewis said seeing Manning walk onto the field gave him that feeling. By the time he stepped under center, he had already played the game 1,000 times in his mind. He had seen your tendencies. He had calculated the path to the end zone. The defenders who lined up against him were not just fighting a quarterback, they were fighting a man who had already decided how it would end. 5 legends. 5 different stories. One conclusion. Peyton Manning changed how defenses had to prepare, and the best players in the world are still talking about it today. So drop it in the comments. Which of these 5 defenders gave Manning the toughest chess match? Or which quarterback today plays the game closest to the way Manning did? Leave your answer below, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and we will see you in the next one.